Okay, let's look at solving 45, 45, 90 special right triangles. So here, all we're going to do is figure out the side lengths of a triangle that has angles 45 degrees, 45 degrees, and 90 degrees. Okay? So we know that in a 45, 45, 90, since these angles are congruent, since they're both 45 degrees, the sides opposite of those angles will be the same. Okay, so the length of this side is going to be exactly the same as the length of this side. And remember, we call this side the hypotenuse, and this side's going to be just a little bit longer. Now, solving these problems is really, really easy, so don't overcomplicate it. We know that in a 45, 45, 90 special right triangle, there's certain ratios for the lengths of the sides. So one of the legs will be, well, let's just call it L. We're going to use a cursive L so we don't confuse it with a 1. Okay, so let's call this leg and use a cursive L. Let's call this side a leg. You'll notice that the variables are the same. They're both L. So these are going to be exactly the same. Whatever number this number is going to be the same. And the hypotenuse is going to be L, or leg, times square root of 2. So it's going to be very, very easy. Let's assume that, or let's just assume that the leg is, let's say it's 6. So the leg equals 6. Well, if this leg is 6, so you have to be given one of the legs, and you will in all your problems. So if this leg is 6, this leg is going to be 6. That's easy because they're the same variable. They're going to be the same length. It could be centimeters, it could be inches, whatever for the units. Now the hypotenuse is also simple. Since L was 6, the hypotenuse is going to be 6 for L, just square root of 2. It's always going to be times square root of 2. So if you're given one of the legs is 6, you know the opposite leg is 6. And if one of the legs is 6, you know the hypotenuse is going to be 6 for leg times square root of 2. Assume you were just given the hypotenuse at 6 square root of 2. Well, 6 is in the L spot, the variable L, so you know that the other two legs would be 6, right? Okay, so let's do a couple examples here. In this example, you're given that the hypotenuse is 5 square root of 2. Well, 5 is in the L spot for the leg, so you'll know that the legs are 5. So 5 and 5. Very simple. Let's look at this one. Here you're given that one of the legs is 8. Well, if one of the legs is 8, since the variable is L and the other variable is L, you know the other leg is going to be 8. And the hypotenuse is going to be 8 square root of 2, right? Because the 8 goes in place of the L and the square root of 2. Okay, so the one thing you really have to know about 45, 45, 90 special right triangles is that the ratios are L for the leg, and L square root of 2 for the hypotenuse. So you do have to know those, but that's really easy to memorize.